Story 1. Halloween used to be my favorite night of the year. Candy, costumes, and the thrill of walking the dark streets with nothing but a flashlight and a pillowcase full of sugar. But after that 1 year, I don't look at Halloween the same way anymore. It started normally enough. Just me, my younger brother Jake, and our friend Megan. We were 12, maybe 13, and feeling brave. Our neighborhood had one of those long, looping streets lined with old oak trees and cracked sidewalks. Every porch light glowed orange. Every house smelled faintly of pumpkins and candle wax. We were halfway through our route when I saw him. A man stood across the street, perfectly still under a flickering street lamp. Long black coat, dark hat, and white gloves that almost glowed in the night. At first, I thought it was just a dad waiting for his kid, or maybe part of someone's elaborate haunted yard setup. But he was too far from any house, too still. We went to the next house, then another, and another. Each time I turned around, he was there. Same distance, same posture, always smiling. "Hey, nice costume," Jake yelled once. The man didn't react, just tilted his head, the way a dog does when it hears something it doesn't understand. I told myself it was fine. Probably some weirdo trying to scare kids. But when we reached the end of the street and started heading home, I noticed something. The sound of shoes dragging behind us. Slow, steady, deliberate. "Do you hear that?" I whispered. Megan nodded. Jake turned, shining his flashlight. The beam landed on those white gloves. The man was closer now, half the distance he'd been before. His smile hadn't moved. We took off running. Candy spilled everywhere, pillowcases thumping against our legs. My lungs burned, but the sound behind us didn't stop. It got faster. He was running now, chasing us. I risked a glance back. His coat was flaring behind him, his gloved hands reaching out like claws. I could see the whites of his eyes, empty and wild. We turned the corner toward my house, screaming for my dad. The porch light clicked on, and just like that, he stopped. He stood at the edge of the street, breathing hard but never crossing the line into the light. Then, slowly, he raised one hand and waved. By the time my dad came outside, the man was gone. The next morning, there were 3 candies neatly placed on our porch, one for each of us. None of our neighbors had seen anyone matching that description. We never went trick-or-treating again after that in our neighborhood without my parents. But every Halloween night, just as the streetlights start to flicker, I fear I may see the man in the white gloves at the end of my block. But my biggest fear is that I will hear the drag of his shoes behind me one night when I least expect it. Story 2. There's a street in my hometown that kids avoid every Halloween. Gary Drive. It's quiet, tree-lined, and ends in a dead loop where a row of houses sits like forgotten toys. My mom always told me to skip the White House with the sagging porch and faded shutters. She said an old woman lived there alone, and she didn't like visitors. But that year, I was 12, and I didn't listen. It was Halloween night, the air heavy with the smell of burning pumpkin candles and wet leaves. My friends had gone home early, and I was determined to hit one last street before calling it a night. Gary Drive was dark except for one porch light, a single warm glow spilling from the old White House. Rule number 1, porch light on means candy. I walked up the path, the boards of the porch creaking under my shoes. Before I could knock, the door opened slightly, and a woman's voice drifted through. "You're early," she said softly. "The others haven't come yet." She stepped into the light. Her hair was gray, tangled like cobwebs, and her eyes looked too bright, watery, glassy, and unblinking. She was wearing what looked like a nightgown, faded pink with little blue flowers. I stammered out, "Trick or treat," my voice barely a whisper. The woman smiled, wide, too wide. "Aren't you handsome? You look just like him." "Like who?" I asked, half laughing. She didn't answer right away. Instead, she reached into a ceramic bowl and dropped a handful of candy into my bag. It was the old kind of wafers, peanut chews, and butterscotch discs. All the candy my grandpa used to talk about from when he was a kid. When I looked up, her face had changed. Her smile was gone, and her eyes were shining with tears. "He used to come every year," she said quietly. Same eyes, same smile. I didn't know what to say. I just mumbled a thank you and hurried off the porch. Halfway down the sidewalk, I looked back. The porch light had gone out. When I got home, I dumped my candy onto the living room floor. My mom came in to help me sort it, but when she saw the old-fashioned wrappers, she froze. "Where'd you get these?" she asked. "The house on Gary Drive." Her face drained of color. "You went to that house?" "Yeah, why?" She sat down slowly. "Because that woman's son disappeared on Halloween in 1978. He was dressed as a cowboy. He was 12, the same age as you." I remember how she looked when she said it, like she wanted to take the words back. We threw the candy away that night, but I couldn't stop thinking about her. The way her eyes followed me. The way she said I looked just like him. The next morning, I walked to school the long way, past Gary Drive. The old house looked different in daylight. The shutters were closed tight, the porch empty. No sign of light. That's when I saw it. A small cowboy hat, old, weathered, and covered in dust, was sitting on the top step. I didn't touch it. I didn't go back. But every year since, on Halloween night, someone leaves a single jack-o'-lantern burning on that porch. No one in the neighborhood claims it, and no one ever sees who lights it. Story 3. It happened the year I turned 11. The last Halloween I ever went trick-or-treating. The night was cool and damp, and fog hung low across the neighborhood streets like smoke from a dying fire. My best friend Eli and I were determined to squeeze in one last block before heading home. We'd already filled our pillowcases halfway, but there was one cul-de-sac we hadn't hit yet, the one at the far edge of the subdivision. It was darker there, no street lights, just porch lights flickering like dying candles. At the very end of the road was a white van parked with its back doors open. A man sat inside, legs dangling over the edge, surrounded by bowls of candy. Real candy, too. Full-size bars, the kind only the cool houses gave out. "Whoa," Eli said. "He's giving out the good stuff." We hesitated, but the man smiled and waved. He looked normal enough, maybe in his 40s, clean-shaven, wearing a blue flannel shirt and jeans. His voice was calm, friendly. "Hey, kids, take as much as you want." I looked around. No decorations, no house lights nearby, just that van and the man inside. Something about the way he smiled bothered me. His lips moved, but his eyes didn't. They stayed locked on us, unblinking. Eli ran ahead before I could stop him. "Thanks, mister," he said, reaching into one of the bowls. The man chuckled, a low, throaty sound that didn't match the friendly tone in his voice. "You kids from around here?" he asked. Eli nodded. "Yeah, just a few streets over." "Good, good," the man said softly. "I used to live around here too, back when kids weren't afraid to come by." Then he paused and leaned closer. "Want to see the decorations I've got inside? The best ones are in the back." Something in my chest went cold. "We gotta go," I said quickly, tugging on Eli's sleeve. The man didn't blink. He just kept smiling. "No rush. There's plenty of candy. As I pulled Eli back, I noticed something inside the van. A shape in the shadows, maybe a costume, or maybe not. It looked like a mask, a white one, lying on the floor near the edge of a blanket. But it wasn't a Halloween mask. It was a face, a plastic one, blank, pale, like it was molded after someone real. The man noticed me staring. His smile faded for the first time. "You shouldn't look back there," he said quietly. That's when I saw it. On the dashboard, a camera. The red recording light flashing. I yanked Eli away, and we ran. I didn't even look back until we hit the main road. When I did, the van's doors were closed, and its brake lights glowed red in the mist before it slowly rolled away. We told my mom everything. She called the police, who promised to send a car through the neighborhood. But by the time they did, the van was gone. They checked for camera footage, but no one's doorbell caught it. No license plate, no identifying marks, just the same vague description others had given. White van, middle-aged man, too friendly. Eli swore he heard something as we ran, like footsteps behind us. But I wasn't sure. The man in the white van was never caught. Every Halloween, I still check behind me, and I am always on the lookout for the man in the white van. Even though I saw him, I am not sure how I would react. I hope that I will call the cops and have him arrested this time. Story 4. When I was a kid, my little sister and I had a Halloween tradition. After trick-or-treating, we'd dump all our candy on the living room floor, sort it into piles, and trade. I always wanted the chocolate. She loved caramels. It was our annual ritual. No rules, no parents, just us and sugar until midnight. But the year she was 9, something felt different. That Halloween was unusually warm. The air smelled like wet grass and smoke from fire pits. We'd hit every house on our street, except for the old yellow one at the corner, the one no one seemed to live in. Paint peeling, porch sagging, mailbox stuffed with flyers. It had been empty for as long as I could remember. When we passed it, a man was standing in the doorway. He wasn't wearing a costume, just jeans, a tan jacket, and a baseball cap. He smiled and waved a little too long, then said, "You two forgot me. I've got something special." My sister hesitated. I wanted to keep walking, but he was already holding out his hand. In it, 2 pieces of caramel candy wrapped in wax paper. "Homemade," he said. "The best in town." We took them, because that's what you do on Halloween. At home, we spread our candy out on the rug like always. I traded my Tootsie Rolls for her lollipops. Then I noticed something. One of her caramels wasn't wrapped like the others. Just a lump of sticky brown candy pressed in wax paper, no label, no logo. "Where'd you get this?" I asked. She shrugged. "The nice man at the corner house." I didn't like the way it looked. The caramel had a faint red tint, like it had been mixed with syrup or something else. "Don't eat that," I said. "It's gross." She rolled her eyes, but I tossed it in the trash when she wasn't looking. That night, I woke up to the sound of my sister crying. She said her stomach hurt. Mom came in and turned on the light. Her face went pale. There were bits of candy wrappers stuck to my sister's pillow, wrappers from the caramel I thought I'd thrown away. Mom called the doctor, but by morning, my sister felt fine. The weird part was when I checked the trash can. The caramel was gone. The wax paper was still there, folded neatly like someone had unwrapped it carefully. That is when I knew my sister had taken the candy from the trash can. The next evening, we walked to the corner house. The porch light was off. The mailbox overflowed with junk mail. No car, no sign of anyone inside. We knocked anyway. No answer. A neighbor walking his dog stopped and frowned. "You kids shouldn't be here," he said. "Why?" "The man who lives here gave us candy." The neighbor shook his head slowly. "No one's lived here since Mr. Garner passed away. That must have been 15 years ago." We went home without saying a word. That night, I dreamed of that man. The tan jacket, the baseball cap, the slow smile. He was sitting on the porch again, holding out his hand. But this time, the candy he offered wasn't caramel. It was something darker, thicker, dripping between his white fingers. When I woke up, my face was drenched with sweat. I was so glad that the dream was not real, but the fear of that man was still very present in my mind. I made it a point to never pass by that house, and we would always go with our gut instinct when it came to the people giving out candy. If we sensed something unusual, we kindly decline the offer and continue on our way. Story 5. Everyone in our town had heard of the old St. Agnes Asylum, the crumbling brick building just past County Line Road. It closed in the 1970s after a fire in one of the wards. Supposedly, not everyone made it out. That Halloween, 6 friends and I decided it would be the perfect place to throw a secret party. No adults, no rules. Just cheap beer, flashlights, and a Bluetooth speaker blasting music through the halls of a place that should have stayed forgotten. The air inside was cold, stale, and thick with mildew. Every sound echoed like it was alive. We set up in what used to be the cafeteria. Broken tables, shattered tiles, graffiti scrawled across the walls. Everything was fine until around midnight, when the lights from our phones started to die one by one. Then we heard it, footsteps, slow and heavy, coming from the hall. "Probably Tyler messing with us," someone said, but Tyler was next to me. The footsteps stopped just outside the doorway. Then a voice, low, crackling, almost childlike, whispered, "Is it dinner time again?" Everyone froze. My friend Sam shone his flashlight down the hallway. For a split second, we saw her. A woman in a tattered nurse's uniform, her head tilted, eyes empty, one side of her face blackened like ash. We ran. We didn't stop until we hit the gravel road outside. When we looked back, the light from Sam's dropped flashlight was still glowing faintly through a broken window. And behind it, something was moving. The next day, the sheriff's office went out there. They found the flashlight still on, sitting on the cafeteria table. But there was no one there. The place still looked abandoned. I am not sure if the sheriff believed us, but we know what we saw. And to this day, I avoid that place, if at all possible. Story 6. The old mill was the go-to hangout spot for every high schooler in town. An abandoned sawmill surrounded by pine trees and rusting machinery. On Halloween night, a bunch of us decided to throw a party there. Someone brought speakers, and everyone brought their own drinks, and by 10 p.m., it looked like half the senior class had shown up. It was perfect until we noticed the truck. An old, beat-up red pickup pulled up near the tree line. No headlights, no engine noise, just there. We figured it was someone's older brother who came to crash the party. But when the engine roared to life and the high beams flashed on, the driver's door opened and no one got out. The lights flickered once, then the truck slowly started rolling toward the mill. People laughed at first, thinking it was a prank, until the horn blared, one long piercing sound that made everyone cover their ears. That's when the saws inside the mill started spinning. The machines hadn't worked in years. No electricity, no power source. But one by one, they came alive. Metal grinding, sparks flying. Everyone bolted. I grabbed my best friend Haley's hand and ran toward the creek. Behind us, the horn kept blaring, and the glow of those headlights followed us like eyes. When we reached the road, the truck was gone. We called the police, but they were in no hurry to get there. The next morning, we found out from a friend that they had found deep tire tracks leading straight into the mill, but no vehicle. The floor inside was covered in sawdust and something darker, thick and sticky, like oil or something else like blood. No one knows for sure. Well, at least that is what I was told. I am sure if the police needed to know what it was, they would have sent it to a lab for testing. That mill burned down the following spring. It was sad to hear this news, but at the same time, I was relieved that no one would ever experience what we experienced that night. No one claimed to know how the fire started.